Our fearsome Legoland pirates had been pillaging and plundering for nigh on 3 years when 1992 rolled around and finally gave them something to properly pillage and plunder. While it does bear the flag of the then new Imperial Redcoats, this wasn't a stronghold like El Dorado Fortress, nor was the ship included part of the Imperial Navy like the Caribbean Clipper. Rather, as the set name so succinctly states, Imperial Trading Post is an important center of commerce, bustling with the activity of merchants and traders from sea to shining sea. And where there's trade, there's treasure. How hard could it be to just slip in by moonlight and pinch a few things from right under Admiral Woodhouse's nose? Or sneak aboard a merchant vessel docked in the harbor, just to see what the cargo hold has to offer? Would those shiny new redcoats even have enough sense to notice? Well, today we're going to find out just what the Imperial Trading Post has to offer our band of scurvy pirates, whether it be gold or gun points. Welcome back to Trikbrix. Hello again, everyone. I'm Jamie. I am so thrilled today to be able to review one of the greatest, most sought-after pirate sets LEGO has ever produced. 6277 Imperial Trading Post. Released in 1992, it contains 608 pieces, 9 minifigures, and originally retailed for $85 in the US. Adjusted for inflation, that would be about $185 at the time of this recording. For anyone interested, that's the equivalent of 30 cents per piece, so yeah, LEGO has always been expensive. When this first hit store shelves in August of '92, I would have been a broke, out-of-work 6-year-old, so unfortunately I never had it as a kid. And even as an adult, I bought it by accident. If you want to hear more about that series of fortunate events, check out my Black Monarch's Castle review. Due to the unconventional method of acquisition, unfortunately, I don't have the box or the instructions. Luckily, scans of both are available online. When I find myself in this position, one of my favorite sites to visit is backoftheboxbuilds.com. If you've never heard of it or have yet to take the time to peruse their vast archive, I highly recommend you do so. It's a fantastic resource. These alt builds are all very worthwhile, and any one of them would make for a fine addition to your Caribbean port. But enough build up, let's take a look at this gem. One thing that puts Imperial Trading Post into an exclusive group of sets is the fact that it's built atop two 32x32 baseplates. If my research is to be trusted, from its inception in 1978 all the way up to 1992, only 13 other sets could boast being built on 2 of these. That may seem like a lot, but according to Brickset, LEGO released over 1,700 items in that time period. Now, I know those weren't all proper sets, but a big chunk of them were. Math isn't my strong suit though, so an easier fact to wrap my head around is that this is only one of 2 pirate sets to ever get a 32x64 footprint, and the other one is also an all-time classic. However, to make filming a bit easier on myself, I'm going to split these apart. They're only held together by a few plates, which makes moving them from your build table to the display shelf much easier. To the left, we have the same gray raised base plate we saw in El Dorado Fortress, with printed waves lapping at dark gray rocks, and its iconic ramp leading us up to the main bulk of the port. Greeting us at the top is the first big reason our pirates may want to reconsider an all-out attack by sea. And there are actually 2 additional cannons stationed around the set, so I guess that makes 3 big reasons. This one is built on wheels, so you can place it wherever you see fit. And it comes equipped with a ramrod and a stack of cannonballs here. Should you choose to put this elsewhere, the small battlement makes for a perfect lookout point for one of our guards. There's even an empty clip here on the wall for storing an extra musket or cutlass. I'm personally partial to the blue coats, but I must admit that these new for 92 soldiers are a welcome addition to our growing list of pirate foes. And while in the real world they were a direct replacement for the blue coats, in this fictional realm you could see them as another faction, possibly British instead of French, or perhaps they're all on the same team and the redcoats are sailors while the bluecoats are soldiers, or vice versa. It's totally up to your imagination, because I don't think even LEGO really knew what was going on. They just wanted to introduce an exciting new color so kids would put these on their Christmas lists. We get 4 redcoats in total, 2 guards with their black shako hats, backpacks, and blue epaulets, an Imperial officer with a tricorn hat and yellow epaulets, and finally Admiral Woodhouse. He gets a fancy hat with a white plume, and his face print was exclusive to his character. He's about a $30 minifigure right now, and he's not even the most valuable one we'll see today. When compared side by side, you can see that both of these torso prints were identical to their blue coat predecessors, with just the primary colors swapped. Same goes for the Admiral's face print. It's the same as Governor Broadside's, but with reddish-brown hair instead of black. The first structure we'll come to is this small storehouse. It makes use of these white panel pieces we've seen several times before in our pirate series, but this one with the simulated brick printing only ever came in 3 sets. This one, obviously, as well as Sabre Island and El Dorado Fortress. You've got a pair of wooden doors at the front, and next to that the designer utilized the 1x2x3 train window to let some light in. The choice to use black is interesting, since both white and yellow were also available, and in my opinion either one of those would have worked just as well, if not better. Perhaps someone else thought so too, since it was featured in the following year's Cannon Cove in yellow. There's a torch mounted on the side here, and the roof has a nice slant to it thanks to these old studded slopes built into each corner. Another rare part, at least in yellow, it was only ever found in one other set, the Neptune Discovery Lab from Aquazone. Up top, a simple hoist can be used to load and unload cargo. You just have to pull the string. Bonus points if you get that reference. I've mentioned before that I'm not a fan of this technique because it looks kinda messy and the string always seems to be in the way of something. But there isn't really a good spot up here to add a winch without modifying the center beam on the roof, so this time I'm just gonna leave it as is. Spinning around to the side, we can get a good look at the interior of the building. Not much to see, but in this case, being a storehouse, that just means there's plenty of space to store things. Several types of cargo are included in the set. First, what appears to be a bundle of 4 cannonballs, and then some yellow bricks, which could either be seen as hay or even just some sort of container full of valuable goods. We also have barrels full of biscuits, and the all-important treasure chests. And there's actually more storage room in the attic. This is one of my favorite features of the set because it seems like the perfect place for a pirate to lie in wait for the cover of darkness, when they can sneak around the port unnoticed and pick up some nice 5-finger discounts. This narrow dock lines up perfectly with the included trade ship, making loading and unloading cargo a cinch. The only drawback is that, being a hoist and not a crane, it's only articulated on a vertical axis, so no swinging it back and forth. But the whole thing still works pretty well. The modified plate in lieu of a hook lets us attach it to a barrel lid, or to the treasure chest. More on this guy in a bit. Back to this courtyard area, there's a short wall running along the front, and behind that is yet another space for storing goods and cargo. It's like this place is a trading post or something. I'm always interested to see how the designers utilize the center pit of this base plate, since it was used in quite a few different sets, and this approach is perfectly acceptable for the setting. You're able to cram all kinds of stuff down here, and you could even use it as a makeshift dungeon should one of our pirates get caught in the act. I appreciate all this open space for posing minifigures, and a classic palm tree back here provides some much needed shade from the Caribbean sunshine. Our second cannon is stationed here, guarding the rear of the port against any sneak attacks. It's on a swivel, and it also gets a ramrod and a spare clip on the other side for storing extra weapons. And that brings us to the tallest structure of the trading post. Boasting 3 levels, we begin at the bottom with what's little more than a passageway between the docks and the courtyard area. A small ladder makes up the height difference, but there's nothing to see inside. Seems like it would be the perfect place for a small armory. That's better. A way to get from level to level is always a welcome sight when it's provided, although I find it hard to believe that someone as highfalutin as Admiral Woodhouse would be the ladder climbing type. But if he wants to visit his office, he's gonna have to, because that's what we have here on the second story. A very simple table and chair build take up most of the space, but he's got plenty to drink, and I think that's all he really cares about. A tiny detail of my own I like to add is a map, so at least it looks like he's doing some work while getting sauced on expired grape juice. The final level is home to a large redcoat flag flying proudly in the salty air, but more importantly, it features the main crane. Unlike the hoist we saw on top of the storehouse, this guy can move in every direction, has a proper hook, and best of all, it has a winch. Its range of motion is great enough to lift items from the dock or even a ship's hold and swing it all the way around to be placed in the cellar. By default, its main load is this pallet contraption, just like the one we saw in the Black Sea's Barracuda, and it carries a truly precious cargo. 6 beautiful gleaming chrome gold coins. This, no doubt, is one of our pirates' main objectives. In addition to the ladder here, we also have a set of stairs leading down to the dock. There are a few more barrels scattered around here, and the minifigures can walk along this narrow section until they get to the drawbridge. As a drawbridge should, it can easily be raised and lowered to allow small ships and boats to pass into the harbor. And it serves as the main thoroughfare between the land and the rest of the dock. I like to imagine this building is a combination guardhouse/harbormaster's office, but it can really be whatever you want since it's a completely blank canvas inside. And you can bet your bottom doubloon I'm going to take advantage of that. Up top, we have a Saber Island-esque guard post, but with the much appreciated ladder leading up to it. However, if we spin this around, we'll see that whoever's on duty has to climb up this ladder and then precariously step around the wall here, since there's no doorway from this room to the balcony. You could easily just stick this over here, but something cooler might be to extend these light gray plates by a few studs and make it so minifigures can walk around this wall. Let's see how that would look. I like it. I also like how it creates this overhang above the doorway, and gives us a bit more posing space up here. I think I'll turn this room into the Harbormaster's office, so he can keep an eye on things below. For that, I'll just add a little table with a scroll, which you could see as a ship's manifest, as well as a quill and something to wet the whistle. Simple, but effective. That leaves the bottom level for a guardhouse. I'd like to squeeze some bunks in here, but space is a little limited, so I've opted for a chair, table, and a little weapons rack. If you really want to go crazy and have room for more details, you can extend this whole section with some additional wall panels, and that looks pretty cool too. However, I don't have any of these to spare at the moment, so for now I'm going to stick with the stock floor plan because my Saber Island looks like it just got demolished by a barrage of cannon fire. Back to the harbor, there's lots of space to dock ships and boats all the way around here. This simple build I put together makes for a nice gangplank if you want to pull up something larger like the Imperial flagship, or my custom deluxe Caribbean clipper. If you're interested in seeing more of this, Club Maniac members have access to an exclusive video all about it. You'll find a link in the description. The pier ends in our third and final cannon. This whole segment of the set is easily detailed with additional barrels and chests, and it's also a great place for posing dock workers lugging cargo around. According to the instructions, we actually get just that in this guy. At first glance, he looks like all the other pirates we've seen, with his shaggy appearance and striped shirt, and you could certainly use him in that capacity, but we never really got any pedestrian types in the pirates theme, so I like to see him as a laborer. Or perhaps he could be your harbor master. So we've got all this open water, let's see what we have to float on it. First up, this little pirate sailboat. We've seen its kind many times before in this retrospective series, but it really adds a lot of play value and story opportunities in this set. In my mind, these guys were sent by Captain Redbeard to scout the place out, try to find a weakness in the defenses, or perhaps sabotage the Redcoats right before the pirates attack. Whatever the case may be, they're ready for anything, armed with a flintlock, cutlass, and musket. There's also a good chance that this is their quarry. This is the only non-military, non-pirate ship we ever received in the theme's original run, until it was reimagined for the Icon's Eldorado Fortress remake, so it was nice to finally get a civilian ship to plunder. These set-exclusive sails are the star of this show, bearing a unique crest that signifies it's a trading ship. It's small, instantly putting me in mind of the Emperor's ship from Orient Expedition, but it's still packed with plenty of detail. At the rear, we've got a single lantern and a tiny little rudder below that. This throws into sharp relief the one thing missing from this build, a wheel. It's too small for the element we'd normally use, and a car's steering wheel just looks weird. If you don't care about keeping things period correct as far as Lego elements go, you could use one of these, but for mine, I've decided to go with this. It's not ideal, but it gets the job done. The main deck is home to a small weapons rack, and there's a decent amount of storage room beneath the poop deck, which is easily moved out of the way thanks to this hinge plate. The small details here are commendable for the elements available at the time, and up front we'll find what the pirates most likely have their eye on. Nestled in the bow is a treasure chest containing 6 more gold coins. This brings our set total to 3 sprues worth, which is fantastic. So, will this fall into Redbeard's hands, or rather his hook? I suppose that all depends on the sailing prowess of our 2 crewmen. The guy on the left isn't too awfully special, made up of your typical pirate parts, but the one on the right is very special. At the time of Imperial Trading Post's release, he was set exclusive, and was only ever seen again in the following year's Skull's Eye schooner, which happens to be my favorite set of all time, and I'll never skip an opportunity to film it. And even though he had a different colored hat and pants, I like to think he's the same character who just decided to give dishonest work a try. Only being offered in 2 high-dollar sets makes him a very desirable minifigure, and he is in fact the second most valuable pirate minifigure of all time, right behind this conquistador from Pirate's Perilous Pitfall. At the time of this recording, he's fetching about $37 used and $55 new. His torso makes up most of that value, but you might be surprised to learn that his face print is also exclusive, technically. At first glance, he looks like these guys, but notice that their hair is dark red, while his is bright red. Just something to watch out for if you're looking to pick him up. But is the entire set worth picking up? Well, yeah, absolutely. It's simply the best Imperial Guard kit LEGO ever made, at least as far as land-based sets go. But it's what I like to call a tax return purchase. Don't be shocked if you see a $400+ price tag on this one, especially if you're looking for the box and instructions. And if you start here, there's no stopping, because even though they may have changed the guards from blue to red, the sets themselves maintained a fairly cohesive color scheme from start to finish, and as you can see, they look perfect together. So you're gonna need to pick up some of these too. And if you're like me and prefer the cooler hue, it's just a matter of swapping out some flags and minifigures, and you've got a proper blue coat Port Royal. But no matter your army of choice, I'd still bet my doubloons on wily old Captain Redbeard any day. So what do you think? Where would you rank this among the other great pirate sets? I'd love to hear about it. And if you'd like to see more videos just like this, early and ad-free, along with a host of other perks, I invite you to join Trikbrix Club Maniac. It's full of amazing folks just like you, and we have their support to thank for this video. But until next time, this has been Jamie for Trikbrix. Keep a weather eye on the horizon, and as always, take care and play well.